Okay guys, so I'm just going to finish up these problems. So this is part 2 of section 2.4, simplifying rational expressions. And I just did a few more examples for us to go through. A little bit of factoring by decomposition here. It's good to practice this along with everything else we're going to be doing. So what multiplies to negative 24 and adds to negative 5? That would be a negative 8x plus 3x. Okay. And then in the denominator, or maybe what I'll do is factor these guys separately. So then I factor these two by group. I'll just do the numerator all the way along, and then I'll go back and I'll work on the denominator. So factoring these two, there's a common 2x, and I get x minus 4. A common 3, and I get x minus 4. This factors 2x minus 4, the binomial common factor, and then 2x plus 3. Okay, now we'll work on the denominator. What multiplies to 60 and adds to negative 17, and that would be negative 5 and negative 12. So 3x squared minus 12x plus, minus 5x. Minus 5x plus 20. Between the 3 and the negative 12, there's a common 3x, and I get x minus 4. There's a negative there, common 5, and I get x minus 4. And then I write down the binomial that repeats, and then the rest of the material, or common factor out that binomial. Okay. I haven't stated restrictions yet, so I probably should do that. My restrictions in this case, x cannot equal 4. But the restrictions for this one are a little bit interesting. If you're stating the restrictions and you're not quite sure, sometimes it's good just to express it not equal to 0 and then go ahead and solve the inequation or inequality. Okay, and so we're going to get x cannot equal 5 over 3 and x cannot equal 4. All right. The x cannot equal 4 is pretty easy, pretty obvious. 4 minus 4 gives you 0. But it's a little bit difficult to see the 5 over 3. 3 times 5 is 15 over 3 is 5. 5 minus 5 gives me 0. So that's a little bit tougher than what you would expect. Okay, then of course we go, now that we've got restrictions here, and now that we've got factoring done, we can cancel. Like cancels like. And we're left with 2x plus 3 all over 3x plus 5. And then you restate and restrict. Okay? Over here, we got a little bit more going on. We got some common factoring as well as some factoring trinomials. So we got a common x here. And so we get x squared minus 5x plus 6. And then we got a common x squared in the bottom. And then we get x squared minus 8x plus 15. Okay, we're always factoring first, remember. That's always our first step. Our second step is restrictions, and then our third step is canceling, and then finally restating and restricting. Okay, so these guys will cancel out, but we're not going to do it yet. So we got x, and then factoring the numerator, what multiplies to give me 6 and adds to give me negative 5. And then it's x minus 2, x minus 3. What multiplies to give me 15 and adds to give me negative 8. And that's going to be negative 3 and negative 5. Okay, so now that's completely factored. It'd be a good time for us to do restrictions. Maybe I'll do them up here. In this case, x squared cannot equal 0, or x cannot equal 0 because the square root of 0 is 0. X cannot equal 3, and x cannot equal 5. Not too crazy. Then we cancel. Okay, the like cancels like, so this binomial with this binomial, very satisfying. This x with this x squared leaves me with an x and an x minus 5 in the denominator, and in the numerator, an x minus 2. I can do a restate and restrict here because I have the room, so I can go x cubed minus 5x squared plus 6x all over x to the 4 minus 8x cubed plus 15x squared is equal to x minus 2 all over x by x minus 5. And then our restrictions are x cannot equal 0, 3, and 5. Okay, this final one is the toughest one because it's got a values that are not equal to 0, and it's got a blended variable. So it's a little bit tougher. Okay, so we'll go through this one. Okay, first things first, what we're going to see is I ask myself what multiplies to give me a negative 20 and adds to give me a positive 1. So I write down my first term. I write down my last term. And then I say to myself, well, what numbers multiply to negative 20 and add to give me 1? Positive 5 and negative 4. And I'm breaking up that middle term, so it's going to be an xy term. Whatever this term is whatever flavor of that term it is as well, or whatever variable components of that term. In here, same idea. So what multiplies to give me negative 20 and adds to give me 8. Okay, so also a negative 20. So we write down the first term. We write down the last term. Okay, and then we decompose that term. Well, what multiplies to negative 20 and adds to give me 8 is a positive 10 and a negative 2. And then we've got 8xy as our actual expression there. So we're breaking it up into positive 10 and negative 2. So we write xy and xy, and then we move on. Okay, factor the top by grouping. With a common x, I get 2x plus 5. Here with a common negative 2, and I get 2x minus 5y. And then with a common, rather than a common 2, or a common 2y, I get 2x minus 5y. And then for the denominator, or maybe I'll just continue with the numerator so we don't confuse ourselves. Okay, we've got our common 2x. Right. Negative 2 into negative 4xy is 2x, but negative 2 y and negative 2 into negative 10 is positive 5, and then y squared divided by y. So that's where I get that binomial that repeats. You know, if we have the magic numbers, it should work. Okay, so if it doesn't work, you can go back and check your work in case you made a boo-boo like I did. X minus 2y. Okay, and then I will continue on with the denominator. So factor this by grouping. There's a common 2x, and then I get 2x plus 5y. Here there's a common y, or negative y, and I get 2x plus 5y. Write down 2x plus 5y from the denominator binomial that repeats, and then I write down 2x minus y. Okay? And we haven't stated restrictions yet, and the restrictions here are a little bit weird. Okay, so when we do restrict, we factor first, and then we do restrictions. When we do restrictions for these blended variables, we've got 2x plus 5y cannot equal 0. If we isolate for x, we bring the negative 5y over to the other side. We divide by 2. And we get x cannot equal negative 5 over 2y. Okay, so we don't get an actual number. We get a relationship between x and y. In addition, we've got this 2x minus y cannot equal 0. So that's one restriction. 2x minus y cannot equal 0. 2x cannot equal y. X cannot equal 1 over 2y. And then there's our second restriction. Okay? We've got our restrictions. It's factored. So then we cancel. We cancel the 2x plus 5y with the 2x plus 5y. That worked out nicely. And x and 2x are not the same. So despite the fact they look like they're flipped, they're not. So I'm left with x minus 2y all over 2x minus y. I should restate and restrict, okay, because I do have room for it here. So I go 2x squared plus xy minus 10y squared all over 4x squared plus 8xy minus 5y squared equals a lot smaller and simpler, x minus 2y over 2x minus y, and x cannot equal negative 5 over 2y and 1/2 y. And so that's my final answer for my restate and restrict. Okay, so that's part 2 of the video, just me going over some more examples, some more complicated factoring. Again, kicking it up a notch a little bit right at the end there, but it is what it is. Okay, so get to work on that homework. There's a fair bit in there along with your previous assignment, and have fun.